Hey guys and girls, welcome back to YYC Designz Custom RC Creations, home of the toughest RCs ever made. I am Twist, and today we are working on the Miss Voodoo project. She is a 1/8 scale 2003 Ford F350 Crew Cab Dually 4x4 Replica. Today we're going to be doing the first fit on the front and rear differentials, on lining up the gearbox, and yeah, we'll see how far we get is the point. But we're gonna get into a lot of the little fiddly little pieces, so that's what we're going to be working on today. A little bit of framework because I'm going to redo the front end. I'm not happy with the front of the frame. I want to change it. I don't like the design I have right now. It comes into a single wishbone. I want it different. So I'm going to be doing that. Plus we'll be doing some body work here, adding some pieces on around windshield pillar, that sort of thing. We'll see if we can start getting the doors fit and like that there. So we'll see how far we get. Yeah, it's Miss Voodoo Day. I apologize as well for this video getting out a little late, because speaking of Miss Voodoo, I am still having issues with the real Miss Voodoo. Since the turbo rebuild, the truck has still not run. It's running, but it has no power. Turns out I basically wasted my time. The non-serviceable inner part of the turbo is what has failed, which is, I'm assuming, the bearings and all of that. And so yeah, it's a kick in the balls, but it looks like I'm going to be replacing a turbo, which means no truck for quite a while, because yeah, turbos are pretty pricey. And so we're just lucky it's summer and we have the bike. Anyway, let's get on to the 1/8 scale Miss Voodoo build.
Nightmares creep while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire. Set my heart afire.
Okay, so I have Voodoo in a mock-up situation here. I've got a couple of the panels on, the doors, fender, just held in place obviously by vice grips and magnets. Nothing is permanent as yet. Hood, and I just thought maybe I would like to kind of see where we are so far with Voodoo and give you a bit of a look at her as a mock-up situation. I apologize for the light glare. I do have a new studio light on this camera right here, trying to give you a little bit more direct light this way so that you can get a better look at things. And yeah, so maybe some of you anyway have not seen the panels and so on that I've done on Voodoo actually up against her chassis and frame, so that's why I set up a bit of a mock-up for you. So let's move the hood. Now I went ahead, and some of y'all may remember from the last video I came up with a one piece here. It was just to hold it square until I got my new chassis design frame rails in place here. As you can see, I have a axial Wraith differential, front differential sitting under there with servo mount attached. That is so that I can take the micrometer here and tape measures, rulers, and all of that. Figure out exactly where I'm going to be putting my shock mounts. And of course, the 4-link. So the 4-link, by the way, I will be making custom links for Voodoo. I usually do with all of my models anyway. I don't particularly like buying them because I can make them a lot cheaper. I buy the material in bulk and I'll spend a day whacking together links. If I need some for 10 scale, they're all basically the same size. However, on Voodoo here, now nothing is going to be standard on this because she is an exact 1/8 scale front to back, top to bottom, including body panels and chassis. So she is not the size that maybe some of y'all are used to for a 8 scale vehicle. She is, and I'm just pulling out the tape measure to show y'all here. She is, in fact, she's just shy, focus please. I think you can see that. She's just about bang on 35 inches in length. And of course, at the chassis alone, she is 8 1/4 inches wide. And she stands 8 inches, just under, well, we may as well say 7.5 inches tall there. So she's not exactly what you'd call a standard store-bought 8 scale version. She is an exact 8 scale version, taking the measurements off of a real truck, transferring them 8 scale and making the model. Now that I've bored you to death with that, and my camera got a little out of wonk and alignment on me there, I apologize for that. I'm trying to bring y'all better videos and more close-up views, and it's a little difficult sometimes on these Samsung cameras or Androids, even iPhones, because their front cameras are not the greatest. Anyway, what you're seeing back here is the motor mount. We'll go underneath and have a little boo at it. Now, I know it looks rather bad right now because y'all are saying, oh, it'll hang up and catch on everything. This is not the final design. It will be angled down, so this will get chopped off. I'm deciding what to do on the front to give it some protection, give the gearbox and the motor some protection, so that any obstacles she comes across, she'll slide over rather than hang up and catch on. Underneath here, you can see it's just a basic ladder chassis, ladder frame chassis made out of 1/2 inch, 1/8 wall tube steel. And the only aluminum part on her right now, as we move to the rear, is right now this rear deck is the only aluminum on her, the checker plate here. This checker plate, by the way, will also continue in this panel. I just ran out and I have to get another sheet, and that way I can complete it. Also, her roll bar will come up and do so. I just have to get another piece of 3/8 square stock steel to continue that. The rear window here will be getting cut out just like the real pickup, and have a sliding rear window in the back. Same as the windows in the doors. They will be cut out and there will be actual windows in there because the doors, all 4 doors, will be fully functional, and she will have a replica interior, as she will also have a replica 6-liter diesel motor, just like the real Miss Voodoo does. So this is why I mocked it up, was to get everything lined up, and of course weld in the new frame rails that I put in today. So that's how far I am at the moment, and I don't know how much further I'm going to get today because it's 8:30 right now. So this video, unfortunately, is probably going to be a little bit late. I was delayed wrenching on the real Miss Voodoo this week, so we will continue on likely tomorrow and Sunday. so this video can get out to you all before the end of the weekend. So let me continue on here, and we'll see just how far we can get for this episode. I thought I would also take the chance to show y'all some of the parts that we've already got for Voodoo. I've got the double helical transmission here. It has the helical cut gears rather than the straight cut, and of course it has the transfer case attached all in one unit. The problem is I may have to, or I may want to go with a double motor on Miss Voodoo. In other words, instead of just having one more motor, I may mount two. In that case, I will be going with the standard Wraith gearbox transmission made for a Wraith. This, of course, is a metal job. And that means then that I would make a double motor mount plate for it. So I would have to extend this around so that we could put two motors into the transmission here and have a motor here and a motor up here, running two motors instead of one. I'm a little undecided on how I'm going to go in that respect though, so I still have to make that decision. That's why I have the two transmissions ready for her, and I have no problem making the double plate. I'm just really undecided. The other thing we decided to look at as well, now this is all the bits to it, this is the new Hertz dig unit. I will give you the number right here. It's obviously a Vanquish product, the Hertz Dig V2 in black. And as you notice, yeah, it's $80 from Vanquish products. And I do really like Vanquish products a lot. I buy a lot of my parts from them. And so this is the first dig unit I picked up, though. I've been looking it over here for a little bit, and it's a good quality unit. Nice, very nicely machined steel parts on it. And of course then you would have the servo mount that goes on the tranny so that you can shift and free your rear end or have it driving. Now this is a really viable option that I like, and because I really think the dualies are going to have a bit of a tough time turning in certain situations. If you're doing a crawl and you've got to make a sharp left or sharp right hand turn during your crawl, then you can unlock the back wheels and just let the front differential stay locked, carry you through the corner, and then of course you switch it back and you're back into four-wheel drive mode. This unit makes it in effect a two-wheel drive using the front differential, and the back differential would therefore be freewheeling when it is in the unlocked position. It takes the drive away from the rear differential, and when you switch it back, it gives you back your four-wheel drive, all via servo. So you would have to have another channel on your radio to run one of these. But yeah, this is a very viable option I'm looking at for Voodoo, is running the Hertz dig unit. It is a really nice unit, goes together very simply on this one is for the SCX10 or SCX10-2 gearbox or transmission. And so that's what I picked up because, of course, I am running a Wraith drivetrain on it. In any case, whether I go with the double helical tranny or whether I go with the straight standard Wraith tranny, I just end up with buying the drivetrain and the parts I need, because these, of course, are the pieces I can't make in the shop. So that being said, I also had made mention of the rims out in the big shop, and these are the 2.2 metal bead locks that we will be putting onto Voodoo. I apologize for the glare. They're right out of the package, so they're super shiny, obviously. And I've got the focus up close here so y'all can have a good look at them. But they're a nice metal beadlock, and I'm throwing on the maroon rings in honor of my Airborne Brotherhood, and that gives it that little bit of a military throwback, I guess. But I kind of have that going on in a lot of my personal projects, is I throw a little bit of maroon in them, just to, like I say, just to honor the Airborne. So yeah, anyway, so that's about it, and we will continue on with the building. I'll be back at her here tomorrow. Tonight it's about 10 to 11 Friday nights. We'll be back out in the big shop Saturday with some more building. Now y'all know why I wear a do-rag on top of my head too, because I really don't need a hot haircut, yeah? And yeah, I know I'm one of them long-haired freaks, but I like it. Tam loves it. We actually have a deal with each other that neither's allowed to cut their hair. The original deal was if she never cut her hair, I promised I would never jump out of airplanes again. Now that I'm getting a little too old and rickety to be doing that sort of thing, the deal is that I'm not allowed to cut my hair again either. So, but I don't mind, because I've always worn my hair long, except for my years in the service. And I have lots of solar panel on top, so I may as well have it long on the back. So this is a mild steel rod I'm using. I'm also running a rather cool flame on the torch right now that keeps the warpage on the fender down, as well as it won't start sagging my rail that I'm welding to here, my support rail. And it's just like I was mentioning to y'all before, I just really prefer the elegance of a torch over MIG. And there we, got a little part I gotta fix up here, right at the beginning where I had the short rod. It's getting a little warm on the fingers, so it never hurts to go back over your welds occasionally anyway. You can melt and remelt metal time and again, and it just turns it molten and then it turns it back into steel anyway. So it's not like you're really hurting it. You are if you're looking for tensile strength in the steel, but obviously in an RC situation like this, tensile strength on a fender here is not really a huge priority. And really what I'm doing now is just cleaning up a weld and making it look a little prettier. Of course, as the old saying goes, a grinder and some paint makes a weld what it ain't. And yeah, so welders, you know, we can always kind of hide our mistakes by grinding them off. But the professional way to do it is just not make that mistake in the first place. But like this, you know, my shakes have kicked in, so this weld isn't the prettiest, so I'm just going to clean it up a little bit and make it a better weld. And it also will make it just a much stronger weld as I go. And of course that's the biggest goal is a strong weld, yeah? You don't want something that's gonna be wimpy and have a lot of pockets in it where water or other corrosive substances can get in. And yeah, I guess I should have turned the radio down if I was going to talk to you. I never thought about that, so I do apologize. I do love to have my tunes going in the shop, and I'm drifting on my own little cloud most of the time, and not really used to having y'all along as company yet, you know. It's a lot of fun, and I hope y'all are enjoying it as much as I do. I actually taught my daughter Tatiana, she is my redhead daughter, to go along with my beautiful redhead wife. But yeah, I have two beautiful girls, Tatiana and Michelle. I adopted both girls, but they are my daughters. They are blood to me now, and they feel the same. Anyway, the point of me telling you that was I taught Tatiana to weld when she was 7 years old with a gas torch. The MIG came a little later when she got a little bit bigger. She was 9 by the time she was MIG welding. And Michelle, Mishi is her nickname. I did not adopt her until she was 12. So she didn't get to learn to weld until she was 12. And both girls actually picked it up very well. Mish is a little bit better MIG welder than Tatiana, but Tatiana's better with the torch. But it's a beautiful thing to know. And if any of y'all are welders out there, I know you're probably teaching your kids as well. And it doesn't just have to be a trade, it can just be a hobby, and it's a wonderful hobby to know. I did a lot as a hobby welder, and you can make a few bucks on the side, but most of all, it's just for the relaxation of it all and just enjoying welding. Okay, so a little rundown on what we got going on here. As you see, I've put in the center posts for the rear door, latch for the front door. Both sides are done. Of course, the motor mount is way down in there. Right down in there is the motor mount, and of course, like I said, I am going to angle it and do something so that it doesn't catch on obstructions. We have the front shock mounts now in place as well. Rear shock mounts, as I move down the vehicle, rear shock mounts, I have decided where the diff will go, as you can see, but I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do the rear shock mounts back here, because of course I've got the checker plate, so I may have to actually design some different shock mounts for the rear than for the front, which doesn't bother me, I just haven't got it done yet. Of course, I do have the link mount at the rear of the cab here. So Rear links will end up being shorter than front links by a couple of inches. I have my notes over there on Voodoo, and although y'all can't see them, it's no point in zooming out for y'all. What I meant to do was show you here is that I am going to be running 100mm shocks on Voodoo, 2 on each corner. The links, the front links will be 8.5 inches, the rear 4 3/8 inches long. And of course the rear drive shaft will end up being 2 drive shafts. I will have a carrier bearing in the rear drive shaft exactly as the 1-to-1 scale Miss Voodoo does. So rear drive shaft on this one, 14.5 inches. The front drive shaft can be strictly a stock out of a wraith drive shaft because of the length. I believe they are 4-inch, if I'm not mistaken, 4.5 inch. So to the front, yeah, we'll have just the standard axial drive shaft in there, since I am running an all axial drivetrain. Cowl panel welded into place here, as well as both front fenders are on and ready to go. So she's starting to look a lot more like a pickup. Of course, the front windshield area here, I'm going to have to, if I could learn to talk, I'm going to have to add some paneling in here to make it look more proper, so that we have the curve of the bottom of the glass here, as well as the nice curve along the top of the glass, which comes down at the sides. The windshield actually should be more, it's got to be narrower anyway, so I'm going to have to add some paneling and jazz in there to put the rear window in. Of course, the rear cab window here will have to get cut out yet, so that's yet to come. Now, the main reason for giving you the walk around is now with the center pillars in place here, or what our American brothers and sisters call the B-pillar. We call them a center door pillar here in Canuck land in the Great White North. However, this is where battery, ESC, and electronics are going to hide, under which will be the rear seat. The only difficulty I'm going to have so far is if I decide to run a double motor in this truck, which I am leaning more and more towards doing, I'm going to have a little trouble hiding the second motor because it comes up so high in here, and it's going to come up, but I may be able to hide it under the rear seat. The only thing anybody would ever really notice is where the driver's feet would go, or the driver's floorboard will actually be taken up by motors. However, that's not that big a deal, considering it's hid 90% of the time, unless anybody wants to open the doors and get really, really picky about it, which normally I am. I would like to be. There just isn't a whole lot of a way around it at this point. At least none that I can figure out right now. So that may change. However, I think the driver's floorboard is basically where the motors are going to go on Voodoo. Again, engine compartment here will be filled with a mock engine. I was just leaning forward so that I can show you her with the hood in place. I'll just back up a little touch here, and so there she is with her hood in place. Let's get you a little more light on the situation here. There we go. So there she is in all her glory with her hood in place and fenders on. And of course, y'all seen her earlier in a prior clip with the rear deck and the doors in place. So she is looking really good. She's coming along pretty decently. I'm really happy. That's about as far as I'm going to get on her this weekend now. I know I've got to do a little work on the hood and that sort of thing, you know, getting everything lined up. The next big step will be fitting the rear doors and making the front grille. And rad support, of course. Part of the rad support is already made because of the way I've attached the front fenders. Sorry about the noise. Part of the rad support is already made, though I probably will put a very light cross piece in here between them, because that'll give me something to attach the grill to, unless I weld the grill right to this bottom frame mount, which will also be, by the way, the front bumper mount. So there she is. That's going to be about it for Miss Voodoo at this time. And I hope to all my Canadian brothers and sisters here, y'all have a wonderful Canada Day long weekend. July 1st, of course, being the holiday Monday, so we might get a little extra in here somewhere. I'm deciding on what to film for a Canada Day celebration video. But for today, this is Miss Voodoo. Anyway, there she is, kids, and I hope y'all are enjoying the build as much as I am. And have a wonderful Canada Day weekend to my Canadian brothers and sisters and my American brothers and sisters. I hope y'all just have a really great weekend. This is Twist with YYC Designz, Custom RC Creations, and you are watching the Miss Voodoo Build Project 2003 Ford F350 Dually 4x4 Replica. Take care, guys and girls. Bye-bye.